What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 performance cars ever made, in my opinion. But I can't write that in the title because, no one cares. So think of it as a bit of clickbait, blah, blah, blah. So if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and make sure you write down below your top 10 cars or the top 10 cars that you think are the best performance cars ever made. And yeah, here's the list for you guys. Enjoy today's video. So at number 10, I have the Lotus Evora GT. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at the stats of the cars first, and then we'll talk about them, okay? So the Lotus Evora GT comes with a 3.5-liter supercharged V6 engine that makes 418 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds with a top speed of 188 miles an hour. Now, it's definitely not the fastest car, and it's definitely not a brand that is very well known. But I mean, of course, everybody's heard of Lotus, and everybody knows what Lotus is, but nobody really knows what they make. Once upon a time, I was supposed to buy a Lotus Evora GT, but it didn't work out. And if you can get past the fact that it's a Camry engine and blah blah blah, don't get me wrong, okay? You're not gonna get Ferrari performance out of it. It's a 3.8 second car, but I've driven one of those before. They handle really well and they sound amazing. It's honestly one of the best sounding cars that you can buy for the price. It's definitely beautiful looking on the outside, and also the interior is quite nice. The only thing that I didn't really like was the infotainment system on this car. It's obviously aftermarket. I think it's Alpine, something like that. Terrible nonetheless, but I didn't really care about it because I don't listen to music in the car anyways, so I didn't need a good infotainment system and a good stereo system, so it wasn't really a big deal for me because the car just sounds amazing either way. So that was going to compromise for a bad infotainment system and bad build quality. I mean, the build quality of this car, you can tell it's a little bit shabby, but it is what it is. Moving on to our number 9, which is the BMW M2 CS. Now, the BMW M2 CS comes with a twin turbo 3-liter inline 6 engine that makes 450 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds with a top speed of 167 miles an hour. So 176 miles an hour is more than fine. The BMW M2 CS is definitely a rare car, and it's a good looking car, and it's a fun car, and it's the M2 has always been known as BMW's best M car in terms of driving. Now, to be completely honest with you, I feel like that's a little exaggerated because they're the best M car. But don't get me wrong, the M2 for me was my dream car growing up, and I definitely thought it is the best car in the world and blah blah blah. Now, the new M2, we're not even going to talk about that because that is not a car. It is something straight out of Minecraft and Roblox together. The M2 CS is, again, extremely beautiful on the outside, extremely beautiful on the inside, and it is a BMW, so it's going to have a much better looking interior than a Lotus. Moving on to number 8, we have the only SUV on this list, and no, it's not a Urus, and no, it's not the Cayenne Turbo GT. It is the Aston Martin DBX 707. The DBX comes with a 4-liter V8 engine that makes 700 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, and it has a top speed of 193 miles an hour. Now, I'm not a big SUV guy, and I'm not really into SUVs, and I don't think I will be ever buying an SUV. But if I ever buy an SUV, it's definitely going to be this one. Because not only does it look amazing, the numbers look really, really good, but it's not all about speed, okay? The car looks amazing. I mean, take a look at the exterior of the car. It is definitely, in my opinion, the best looking SUV out there. It's underrated. It is a bit expensive, but so is every other performance SUV out there. And before you tell me the Trackhawk is not that expensive and the Trackhawk is not an SUV for me, there's no luxury, there's no looks. It's just an American car with a big engine, and it can go fast in a straight line. Moving on to number 7, I have the 992 GT3 RS. And the 992 GT3 RS comes with a naturally aspirated flat 6 engine that makes 518 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 officially in 3 seconds. And the top speed of the car is 184 miles an hour, but around the track, so it wasn't really tested. Some say top speed is 200 miles an hour, some say it is 184. Good looking, as you can see. The outside is beautiful, and the inside of this car is also beautiful. So at number 6, we're gonna have the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. You see this spec? This is the 63 SVJ. So it's one of 63. They made 63 of those for the whole entire world. To be completely honest with you, I'm not entirely educated on what the 63 is, if there's anything special, if it's just, has a 63 on it. The Aventador SVJ comes with a 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12 that makes 769 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds with a top speed of 221 miles an hour. Definitely a very, very respectable engine and very respectable power, and it's just, to be completely honest with you, you can't ask for much more than that. Now, the only reason why the SVJ is at number 6 is because whenever I see videos of an SVJ, I always feel like it sounds faster than it looks. So I feel like it just produces so much sound, and it's good sound, by the way, but I'm not talking about what sound it produces. I'm just talking about, it's like when you see these Honda Civics on the highway and then they're making all this noise, but then you look at them and they're not moving. And I'm not saying the SVJ doesn't move. I'm just saying it doesn't move as it sounds, if that makes sense. But listen, I could be completely wrong. It is a fast car. I mean, 2.8 seconds with 769 horsepower and a top speed of 221 miles an hour is serious numbers. It's definitely not Honda Civic with fart can exhausts on it. Gorgeous looking car, looks beautiful on the outside and on the inside. I'm not a big fan of Lamborghini interiors, to be honest with you. I just feel like they're a little too plastic. But again, it's my opinion. It doesn't really matter. You could like them, you could hate them. It's completely up to you. Now, moving on to number 5, and the only car that is old. I wouldn't say very old as well, but it is like 20 plus years old. It is the Ferrari Enzo. Now, the Ferrari Enzo comes with a 6-liter V12 engine that makes 660 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. And the top speed on this 20 plus year old car is 218 miles an hour. Only 400 Ferrari Enzos were ever made, and I can't even imagine how expensive an Enzo would be right now. I don't even want to know, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty expensive. Now, the thing with these older Ferraris, they were never really pretty. They always look ugly in a beautiful way. I don't know if that makes sense. They weren't like, looking at the SF90 compared to the Ferrari Enzo. Yeah, I know time changes, designs changes. And so, yeah, I mean, take a look at the exterior of this car and take a look at the interior. I mean, obviously the interior is not, up to the standards of today, but this for me is perfectly fine. All right, moving on to number 4, and we have the McLaren 765 LT. And 765, I don't know why people say 765. Like, just call it 765 LT. All right, I feel like that's a bit more right. But anyways, the McLaren 765 LT comes with a twin-turbo V8 4-liter engine that makes 765 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, with a top speed of 205 miles an hour. To be completely honest with you, for a very long time, the 765 for me was the dream supercar. I'm not a big fan of supercars and, hypercars and things like that, because I just feel like they're too expensive. But once you see them and you hear them and you can't help it but start falling in love with these cars. And that was my story with the 765 LT, because it was the first, supercar that I looked at and I was like, but the 765 LT is definitely one of the most beautiful looking cars I have ever seen in my life. I mean, the front end is cool and all, but look at the rear end. Something about it just looks raw. It looks like a very raw car. It doesn't look like overly plastic or overly carbon fiber or just like overly modern. It's got that perfect aggression and perfect everything to it. So it's definitely a good looking car. Now, moving on to the interior, I'm honestly not a big fan of McLaren interiors because they just look like they weren't really, designed all that well. And yeah, sure, a screen that flips. Wow. Track, because on the track you can, realistically speaking, how many McLaren owners are going to take their McLarens to a track? So no, but whatever, no hate. It's still a beautiful car, and it's, if I got to a point where I have enough money to just buy one, I'll get one of those. Not sure how or when, but I would. And at number 3, we have the Ferrari SF90. The Ferrari SF90 comes with a 4-liter V8 twin-turbo engine that makes 769 horsepower, combined with 3 electric motors that generate 217 horsepower, making the car's overall horsepower 986, or 1,000 as a lot of people call it. The 0 to 60 on that thing is 2.5 seconds, and the top speed is 211 miles an hour. Now, to be completely honest with you, ever since the SF90 came out, I didn't like it. I can't accept the fact that it's a hybrid, and I know hybrids are still, it's still a V8, I know, but it's a hybrid, And it seems like a very fast car. It is a very fast car. It's quick, right? I mean, the 2.5 seconds 0 to 60 and 211 miles an hour is plenty of speed and, plenty of everything. And 1,000 horsepower is also plenty of power. But whatever, it's still an absolutely gorgeous car. It's extremely good looking. I love everything about it. The car just looks perfect, and the interior of the car, to be completely honest with you, I find the dashboard, the new one that they put in, is just a little awkward. I don't know. A lot of people love them, and that's good, but I like the old one a bit more. And I don't want to say the name wrong because I have people in the comments, man. I'm not Koenigsegg, Jesko, absolute. And that thing comes with a 5-liter V8 twin-turbo engine that makes 1,280 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds with a top speed, making it the fastest car in the world currently, 350 miles an hour. And again, it is the fastest car, production car as of right now. Now, obviously, the looks of the car is not something that, you can talk about. I mean, look at this thing, right? It looks like a spaceship, and I am not about that. I mean, it's a good looking car. I'm gonna admit that, you know, it's a good looking car. It's not a Honda Civic, but it's too out of this world for me, and my brain, my poor tiny brain, just cannot fathom everything that's on that car because it's just overwhelming. The interior is beautiful. Just everything about this car is beautiful, and I had to add it because, you know, it is the fastest car that exists. It's got a V8. All right, so we love a V8. Moving on to number 1 and my absolute favorite car, my dream car. You know, this is the car that I will buy before, you know, I'm just going to save up until I buy. I'm saving up $10 a month for the next, I don't know, 100,000 years. I'll probably be able to afford it. It is the Ferrari 488 Pista. Not 488, the 488 Pista. And I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I genuinely like these cars. And the Pista for me is... it's just, look, it's everything that I need. It's snappy. Traction is garbage. It looks amazing. The car looks so... Oh, and if you see one of those in real life, it is the best looking car that has ever been produced, in my opinion. It's just... it's just this is... I mean, take a look at this. Oh, mad. And the interior of this thing as well is incredible. And just the rear end of this car, boy. Look. I'm not sure how much they cost nowadays. I think like 200 something. I think 200. No, $600,000. I think it is, or something like that. But where I come from, it's a bit cheaper than that. It'll be the equivalent of $350,000, which I'm not gonna say is comfortably affordable, but it is affordable eventually. So it's just, you know, I'm not even gonna buy another car. I'm not gonna buy a car until I buy a Pista. So I'm just gonna save up once I start working. And I know I do look like an elderly woman, but for now I'm 21, so I'm still 21 years old. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but the 488 Pista is number 1. I just hope everything goes well in life. You know, I don't want a house. I don't want nothing. I just want a Pista. Just give me a Pista. I'll live out of it. I'll live out of it. I'll film videos out of it. I'll edit out of it. I'll go to work out of it. You know, it'll be my whole... It's just, you know, my whole world is gonna revolve around that car. Whoa! I forgot to say the stats on the Pista because I was so overwhelmed. Whenever I talk about this car, I get hyped up. It's got a twin turbo 3.9 liter V8 engine that makes 720 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, and with a top speed of 213 miles an hour. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. That has been, again, it. And make sure you comment down below and let me know what are your top 10 cars, and you know, let me know if you agree with some of the cars that I have put on the list. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and do all the... And I will see you guys in the next video.